Mav's Coffee Clarity with Denise is brought to you in partnership with Drive Media and Consulting and their premier sponsors. Subscribe on your favorite streaming platforms and share. If you just found us, welcome. And if you're a regular, welcome back. Denise Digrigoli has spent her life in the creative industries as an entrepreneur, helping people transform their visions into thriving businesses, working with individuals and teams to find their purpose and live their life vibrantly. On her pod, Denise delivers business intel and life hacks with wit and wisdom in short shots like a strong espresso with a solid sense of humor. Enjoy this episode of Mav's Coffee Clarity, and here's Mav.
Welcome, my friends. You're on Mav's Coffee Clarity with Denise. Every week, we're spilling the beans on wit, wisdom, and clarity, one cup, one conversation at a time. When I'm not interviewing incredible mavericks who are sharing their wisdom and their creativity, their tenacity, and their fiascos and the silver linings they've found, it's just me, Mav, in a short shot, spilling out some of my own maverick wisdom. And today is one of those days. We're going to short shot it, my friends. You know, on the heels of Mother's Day weekend and celebrating all the people that nurture, I want to say a very big shout out to everyone. Moms that have had children, moms that have lost children, moms that decided not to have children, people that nurture, anything. I think a nurturing role in my world creates the mother effect, right? The halo effect of sharing good wisdom and good energy to help other people move forward. Now, that's exactly what we do here over at Mavs. We try to share good energy that will move forward, and we share these ideas. And if you pick up something along the way that makes you think about whatever you're working on in a different way, gives you a fresh point of view, and you decide that it's helping you, then we've done our job and you can move on. And I think my Mother's Day experience was one where I really took this year to do exactly what I wanted to do. And that was challenging, prioritizing my own time, energy, because I think when you are in a nurturing role, you feel like you have to take care and help everybody in whatever capacity you nurture. And so this week, my daughter and I went into the city, so the day before Mother's Day, and we did some wardrobe updating because she's about to start a new position. And I really wanted to go to Italy. I don't know if you've been to Italy, and I'm not paid for this commentary, but it reminded me of the market in Florence. And she had studied there, and I really was dying for that connection again. And of course, good food. So we went by there, and we had some terrific mussels, and she had a spritz, and I had some cool mocktail made with grapefruit juice and a sprig of rosemary. And then we had the fancy cappuccinos with the designs on the top and desserts that were, like just tooth aching. And it was a really nice, non-orchestrated day. And I really needed that. And I thought to myself, it's challenging to get those non-orchestrated days nowadays, right? We're working, whether we're working running a home, an organization, a team, a charity, a business, or working, we're busy. And I found time to, instead of being a human doing, just to do sort of a ad hoc day and be a human being. And we had the most fun I think we've had in a while. And then Mother's Day, I also had some time with family and took time to kind of do yard work. I know some people are like, I'm not doing anything on Mother's Day. But this day, it was sunny. I took advantage of the sun. My point is, I gave myself permission, and I don't often give myself that long lead. And it really did reset my energy. So my maverick bean for you guys this week is, you know what? Whatever resets your energy, make the time to do that. In sales, or basically anything in life, I do a lot of sales training and business consulting. But when we say we don't have the time, it's really we don't want to make the time. And it's challenging to make the time when you've got, aging parents or young children or others that need you, whether it be anything from a farm to your pets to your job to your business. You can make the time, just like you make the time every morning to get up and brush your teeth, right? You can make 5 minutes of time. This is interesting. My back has been a little out, but really my neck was bothering me. And my chiropractor said, listen, what I really want you to do is make the time every hour and just do this one stretch so that you can unlock your neck. I believe in like short stretches, but multiple times a day. There's some people that believe in long stretches once a day. And I thought, isn't that interesting to take time? Because when I had to make that time every hour thereabouts on the hour to stretch my neck, not only did it work, but it gave me a chance to stop plowing through the day. And I thought to myself, well, what am I going to talk about? There's a lot going on, and we're trying to build the podcast to new levels, and we're looking for new places to film. And even though it seems like it's doing well, business is a constant state of improvement. You can't coast anymore. I mean, gone are the days of coasting in business, right? You've got to be aware of what the audience wants, your clients want. You've got to figure out how to best service them so someone else isn't servicing them. And I thought, I'm going to get on here and just do a little improv. Yes, I had a loose script in my mind of what I wanted to talk to you about. And I also wanted to talk to you about how to just let it rip. In sales training and business consulting and prepping clients to be on a stage for a TED Talk or whatever number of things, preparation is the key, my friends. But the skill of being able to roll it on improv is very important. And that taps into your internal barometer of where you are with your emotional intelligence, your intuitive intelligence, and your self-appreciating intelligence. Those things are really important. We all have the critical voice. We all have the imposter syndrome now and again. I'm not good enough. I should have done this. I shouldn't have done that. I should be over there when I'm over here, and vice versa. Especially, I think, working parents, right? I should be with my children. Oh, no, I should be at my job. Oh, I should have done that. At the end of the day, I say emotional intelligence, intuitive intelligence, and self-appreciation intelligence are really important. And how do you do that? Well, first of all, you allow yourself a day of being a human being, not a human doing. So kind of going with the flow and knowing that everything will still be there tomorrow, which, hey, I'm the worst at this. This is why in some of my reading, I read every morning in my morning routine. I do a random reading out of one of the books I appreciate, Self-Appreciation. And it said, your mind is a tool, and you use your tool as a mind. You use your tool as a mind. Maybe I need another swig of a coffee here. You use your mind as a tool. In other words, I run the tool. The tool doesn't run me. So when I'm feeling overwhelmed or like I'm not doing enough or that imposter syndrome creeps in, I say, where is my intuitive intelligence, my emotional intelligence, and my self-appreciation? Usually starts with my mind. Something's running rogue, and I need to dial it back in the same way I remember to brush my teeth every day. These kind of self-care little procedures, whether it's stretching your back for a minute on the hour or brushing your teeth or doing something to rev up your 3 intelligences. So emotional intelligence for me is just being aware, having empathy, being aware of the other person. And I don't have to be sympathetic. I have to be empathetic to what they're feeling, right? I have to be aware. And so taking time to listen, right? The old adage, 2 ears, 1 mouth, teach a lot of strategic communication. And I'm always talking. And I have to remember to listen really intently and not think of the answer while they're talking. So not being ready to respond before they finish. That's stretching that muscle of emotional intelligence. Intuitive intelligence is your gut. We're really data-driven nowadays, like super data. And now we've got all these other tools like AI that are driven by data. And we need to know them and we need to understand them. They're going to be part of our lives. And data helps us make decisions on our health, our business, our life. Okay, but you need emotional, intuitive intelligence to be able to decipher all that data and know what's really good for you. You've all heard it before. Well, the data says blah, 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 blah. And then you decide to make a different decision and you go, oh, I'm glad I made that decision based on my intuitive intelligence for me. And how do you ramp up your intuitive intelligence, my friend? Have a morning routine. Have a morning routine that welcomes the day beyond brushing your teeth. And use that morning routine to set the tone of your day. Now, you know what I'm going to say. I use the daily drive, but I'm not telling you that right now. What I'm saying about your morning routine is that's when you till the energy, whether it's in a prayer mode, it's a journaling mode, it's a meditation. You're tilling your energy for the day. You're setting the tone. That makes your intuition. I have to have a sip of the coffee. I'm sorry. Tongue-tied at the end of the day. When you do a morning routine with sincerity, you set yourself up, your internal compass, to be aware throughout the day. More aware to intuitive opportunities that come your way. I'm not going to call them chance coincidences. I'm going to say because you're more aware, because you had a sort of setting of your tone or your energy. Energy management, like we said last week, is equally as important as time management. When you set that tone, you get yourself in the right spot so you're open to opportunities. You don't miss them. So that's intuition and intuitive intelligence. And then the self-appreciation intelligence. You've got to stop every day. I like to do it in the morning, but you can do it at the end of the day too. And just say, what's working? That's self-appreciation. What's working? Am my feet working? Am I getting to work? Can I do that yoga pose that I've been trying for a while? Is what's happening in my company working? Yes. What's happening with the people that work with me, these spectacular interns from a local university? Yes. Is my eyesight good? Yes. Is my car getting me to work, to the office? Yes. Is this podcast equipment still working beautifully? Yes. So you got to find the simple joys. I picked these. I don't know if you're watching me on YouTube. I love Lily of the Valley. It was my grandmother's favorite flower, and it grows wild up here in Western Mass. And I have some in our Connecticut office as well. So the floral scent I love. It reminds me of great memories. It's this beautiful little petite flower that just gives me joy to look at. So you got to find the simple pleasures. Just ate a nice little chocolate from Italy. Ava and I went into the city to update her wardrobe for work. She's got a new position, and I was really dying to go to Italy because it reminded me of a market in Florence when she studied in Italy that we would again, a little tongue tied here today, that we would frequent. And Italy, I'm not paid for this at all, is a really nice rendition of that, with wonderful restaurants and little markets within markets to buy your meats, your cheeses, your olives, your sauces. Anyways, we bought this incredible pistachio chocolate that is just done to the perfection. That's what I mean. Self-appreciation intelligence. The more you see color, the more you feel taste and texture and the energy of other people, and you appreciate it, that builds that muscle. And when you have all of that intuitive, emotional, and self-appreciative energy rolling through your body, you just get better results because you become more of a magnet for positivity. And this isn't a big class on positivity and saying 5 things positive and all that kind of stuff. What this really is saying, taking time to harness your intelligences and your energy is really important so you can move on, because you will definitely be given some news along the way that you aren't happy about. Was case for me. We all want our loved ones to stay with us forever, but they age and they, I don't like the word ill, but they become ill. And at some point, they return to the universe or heaven or whatever it is you personally believe in. And it becomes challenging to hear news you don't want to hear when you've just spent time honing your intelligences and talking about what's working, because you don't want to hear things that don't align with what you want. And we can make choices, right? We can choose to turn off the internet and the news. We can choose who we associate with, so we can turn the dial down on bad news. But sometimes news comes in that we don't want to deal with. And I got some of that news, and I thought to myself, what's the tool in my toolbox? Because I don't want to feel a rush of sadness that I can't manage. And so what I thought was what had worked over the years. And that led me down some very positive memories. And it gave me the footing to ramp up my energy to say, you know what, no matter what happens, I'm going to deal with it in a style with finesse and charisma and joy and gratitude. And I'm going to give thanks for all the positive things in my relationships that have been really rewarding, giving me a footing, giving me joy, allowed me to learn. You've heard me say in prior short shots, sometimes we learn the most from our worst bosses or our worst experiences. And sometimes we learn from experiences that we don't really want to have. And I always come back to this. You can handle it. You can move through it. You can acknowledge it when you do it with emotional intelligence, intuitive intelligence, self-appreciative intelligence, and gratitude. So on Mav's Coffee Clarity, we share a little wisdom. That's my wisdom for this week. We're moving through it with appreciation and joy, energy management. Peace out, my friends. Mav's not going back to work today, which is unusual. Mav's going to continue to enjoy the day. We'll see you next week. Thank you.